Scientific notation is going to become very crucial in chemistry because we deal with very, very large numbers, such as the number of atoms in a table or a glass of water, or we deal with very, very small numbers, such as the size of an atom or the distance between one atom and another. So knowing how to manipulate these numbers and put them in scientific notation and take them out of scientific notation is going to be crucial to you. The first example I wanted to show you guys was the width of the universe. When you can see here, it's a 210 with a total of 22 zeros after the 2 and the 1. In scientific notation, the general form that you should always use is usually written like A times 10 to the n. This A, which I know wasn't written very well here, let's see. A times 10 to the n. The A must be a number between 1 and 10. And then the n that's here is a positive or negative integer. It can even be 0. Not only understanding this general formula for scientific notation, but knowing how to put it into your calculator is going to be crucial. So again, the A stands for a number between 1 and 10, and the N is always standing for the number of places that we're going to be moving the decimal. So for example, in our number that we started out with here, this 210 with 22 zeros in it, right now what you can't see, which you guys all know, that the decimal is located right here after the last 0. So to make a number between 1 and 10, we need to move the decimal between the 2 and the 1. And if you count the number of places that we're going to be moving this decimal, that's going to be 23 places. So the way we would write that number in scientific notation then would be 2.1 times 10 to the 23rd. Now let's go ahead and talk about how to put these kind of numbers in your calculator. The button that we're going to be using most often to put scientific notation numbers in our calculator is a button that has 2 capital E's in it. And if you have a TI calculator, which I know most of you do, I want you to locate this button. And where it is its second comma. So this button is located right there. And you'd have to use that second first. So hit that button first and then hit the comma, and that gives you the EE button. And what that EE button stands for is the times 10 in our general notation here. So the way we would enter in the number 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd, we would type in the number 6 and then 0.02, and then we would hit that EE button and then type in the number 23. The way it's going to show up on our calculator is 6.02, and even though the button has 2 capital E's, on the calculator screen it only shows 1, and then it will say 23. So again, these two numbers are exactly the same. Let's say that we're doing some type of calculation where all we have is like something like 10 to the negative third that we need to put in. What 10 to the negative third is the same as is 1 times 10 to the negative third. So if we just have 10 to the negative third and we don't have any other number in front of it, the way we're going to put that into our calculator is type in 1 and then that EE button and then negative 3. But that's only if you have 10 to the negative third with nothing in front of it. So a number like 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd, because there's a number here in front of the times 10 to the 23rd, we enter that in as 6.02 and then EE23. And notice there's no 1 anywhere. The only time that we use this notation here is if we have a number that's 10 to the raised to some power with nothing in front of it at all. When we're changing numbers from scientific notation to decimal notation, there's a couple things that will help us out here. If you ever have a number that has a negative exponent, and I've given you this example, 1.3 times 10 to the negative 8th, the sign that I want you to remember is the less than sign. And put that less than sign in front of that negative exponent so that this negative exponent becomes 1.3 times 10, and you can see now this thing kind of looks like an arrow. That tells us the direction to move the decimal. And then remember that this integer is always the number of places that the decimal is moving. So we're going to move the decimal 8 places to the left. So 1.3 times 10 to the negative 8th will look like 0.0000013. So here, if you counted that out, that should be 7 zeros before the 13. Anytime you have a scientific notation number that has an exponent that's positive, the decimal number should be greater than 1. And anytime the exponent is negative, such as in this case, the decimal number should be less than 1. But using this trick with the less than sign might help you remember which direction you're going to be moving that decimal, whether it's to the left or to the right. The next example I've given you is a number that's 28750.9. And you can see that this number is obviously greater than 1. That means that our exponent is going to be positive. Now, in order to make this a number between 1 and 10, we need to move the decimal right there. So our number in scientific notation then is going to be 2.87509 times 10 to the, 1, 2, 3, 4 places we're moving the decimal. And because the number is greater than 1, that's going to be a positive 4. So this number here is going to be positive 4. If that decimal number was less than 1, then that would be a negative 4. Now let's look at this calculation that I want you to do in your calculator. I don't ever want you to use the 10 caret button in your calculator. You'll get most answers wrong if you use that. Instead, it's crucial that you're actually using this EE button that we talked about before. So I want you to get some practice at that. The equation I've given you is 4.5 times 10 to the negative 5th divided by 1.6 times 10 to the negative 2nd. So do that in your calculator. The way you're going to want to type this in is 4.5, and then you're going to want to hit that EE button and put negative 5, and then a divided by button, and then 1.6, and then that EE button again, and negative 2. The answer that you should come up with when you do this is 2.8125 times 10 to the negative 3rd. If you don't come up with that answer, you probably typed it into your calculator wrong, and we need to get that figured out exactly how to type that into our calculator correctly, because you'll be doing a lot of problems like this in chemistry. Okay, the very last example I've given you is one where I've given you 6 in parentheses times 10 to the negative 3rd, and then divided by 2.3 times 10 to the negative 12th. The way we're going to type this into our calculator is 6, and then times, and because here we have a number that's 10 to the negative 3rd with nothing in front of it, we're going to enter that in as 1, and then hit the EE button, -3. So this 1e -3 is that 10 to the -3rd. And then we're going to hit the divided by button, and then 2.3, and then EE12. And then you're going to hit enter. The answer that you should get out from this is 2.6087 times 10 to the -15th.